Building a small fireplace with an electric insert is actually not as hard as you think, but here are a few things that you need to consider before you take on a build like this. Keep in mind where the outlets are located because you may have to move them in order for your fireplace insert to be plugged in. The other thing to keep in mind is how much electricity is required to run your electric fireplace. Before you decide on your purchase, make sure your outlet has enough amps in order to support the amount of electricity that is going to be required to run that fireplace efficiently.
Let's build a fireplace. This project took a couple months to complete because I'm actually building this for my friend, which means I don't have access to my tools 24/7 like when I do my projects at home. But if you're building this in your own home, you could probably do it in a weekend. And as a reminder, always do your research before attempting DIY. I started this build by pre-assembling part of the framing at my house and then brought the pieces over to my friend's house so I didn't have to worry about bringing my miter saw. I did take a small circular saw with me just in case I had to make any adjustments to any of the cuts before I put the frame of the fireplace together. But overall, I felt it was going to be easier if I put this together at my house since these pieces really aren't that large. This is going to be a small fireplace build. It's only going to take up a third of the wall and it is not going to go up all the way to the ceiling. So it should be pretty straightforward. So I brought the wood that's going to be the frame for the fireplace, which is actually going to go here. I am going to tape out where the fireplace is going to go here just to make sure that this is where we want it. And I'm also going to raise this outlet up higher so that we can have a connection up here and we don't have to have cables showing for the TV. Now that this hole has been made, I'm going to turn off the power, take the cable from here and run it up the wall and then into this box, which is going to be what's going to hold my new outlet. I use this Romex 12-2 wire, which is going to be the wire that's going to run from the existing outlet to the new outlet. And I also used this fish stick kit or this rewiring kit that is going to help me fish that wire or that Romex cable from one outlet to the other. Not gonna lie, this was probably the hardest and longest part of the project. It took me 4 hours to do this, but in the end, I was able to get my outlet. I didn't record any of it because it just took too long. With any build that requires framing, you always want to attach the framing to studs. The studs don't line up where I want the edges of the framing to go, so I use scrap pieces of wood to anchor those to the studs, and then I can attach the framing to that. Does that make sense? I wanted to make sure this top piece is also level because when we add a mantle at the end, the mantle needs to sit flush on top of everything. After I added the wood anchor pieces, I decided I did not like where I placed one of the openings for the HDMI cables. So I decided to cut another hole in the wall, this time placing it where it will sit under the mantle, behind the fireplace where no one will see the cables. I plan on running the cables out the side of the fireplace, which should make more sense towards the end of this build. This opening is going to get patched, so no one will ever know it was even here to begin with. In order for the frame to sit flush against the anchor pieces on the wall, I need to cut out the baseboards behind the frame. I used a multi-tool to do this. Then I realized I didn't have my trim puller with me to pull the baseboards off the wall, so I used the next best thing, a flat blade for my multi-tool that I never use. It took a little while to loosen up the baseboard enough to pull it off the wall, but I made it work and the baseboard came off the wall. I added one more anchor piece for added stability and then started working on adding the framing for the fireplace. These are the pieces I pre-assembled at my house, and I'm so glad I did that. It was much easier than trying to put them together at my friend's house. All I had to do was screw them into the anchor pieces on the wall and make sure that they were level. Like I mentioned earlier, I did bring a small circular saw to make some adjustments to the framing. Some pieces ended up being a little longer than I wanted, so I made sure that these cuts were a little more accurate and then worked on putting together the framing for the front of the fireplace. And here's a tip if you're new to building. Pre-drilling is always the way to go. If you pre-drill your pilot holes, you will prevent the wood from splitting as you're screwing into it.
The last part was framing out the area where the fireplace insert was actually going to sit. I don't know how many screws went in, but it felt like a lot. And in the end, this is what I ended up with.
Ta-da! We're ready to move on to the drywall part.
I used one whole sheet of fire-rated sheetrock, and the reason why I went with fire-rated drywall was really just for added peace of mind. Again, this build is for my friend, and I wanted to make sure that the material I was using would hold up in a worst case scenario, where maybe the fireplace malfunctions or it gets too hot. You just never know. Fire-rated drywall holds up to heat better than regular drywall, and the price difference was really not that much. Even though I've worked with drywall before, I'd never worked with a sheet this large or with fire-rated drywall. I highly recommend you use gloves, especially when cutting the pieces. I had tiny little pieces of the fiberglass on my hands and they started to sting. And then I realized it was the micro pieces of the fiberglass on my skin that was making my skin feel like I had microcuts. So wear gloves because it makes a difference. When cutting drywall, it might be faster to use a multi-tool. I mean, it is faster. For this project, I didn't use one only because I didn't want to make a lot of dust. If you've installed drywall before or have had drywall work done in your home, you know things get dusty. Drywall dust is like a powder and gets into every single little crevice that it can. I didn't want to risk making a big mess at my friend's house, so I opted to use a sharp blade instead. Once all the drywall pieces were attached to the frame, I used a metal corner bead for the edges and added a new tool to my collection. I bought tin snips to cut the corner bead. I screwed in the corner bead on both sides before moving on to the mudding. Everything was looking good. Okay, so here's the deal. Mudding is my least favorite thing in DIY, but for this project, it was a necessary evil. First thing I did, which I didn't film, was to use Easy Sand 20 to pre-fill all the joints and fill the screw holes. Once that dried, I sanded the areas I patched and used paper tape over the seams with an all-purpose joint compound. I also covered up all the corner bead. While I waited for that to dry, I worked on adding these little clips that will hold the cables in place so they can come out of the side of the fireplace. Also, sorry, I could have sworn I filmed this process, but I guess I didn't, so here's a picture of what it looks like. A few days later, I came back and did a light sand before doing a second layer of an all-purpose joint compound over everything. So I actually used dust control. I like to use dust control because I do feel like it isn't as dusty when I sand it, and also feel like dust control doesn't bubble on me like the all-purpose does. So dust control is a little more expensive than all-purpose, and honestly, if this was a bigger job, I would probably go with all-purpose just to save money. In my opinion, as long as the wall is smooth and the job looks good, that's really what matters. I was so excited about this part because it meant the drywall process was over and I could move on to preparing everything to add trim around the fireplace. I added 1x6 pieces of pine around the edge of the fireplace just to give it a little more dimension. Adding trim to anything is pretty straightforward. You just use a brad nailer to secure the pieces. After adding the trim, I did the boring detail work, which was filling holes with wood filler, caulking seams, and painting over everything before moving on to making the mantle. My friend wanted a simple mantle and sent me a picture of what she had in mind. I went to Lowe's and bought a 2x12 for 13 bucks and used an extra 2x4 I had left over from a different project. I joined the pieces together to make one wide piece. I needed it to span 12.5 inches, but since I was using framing lumber, the widest I was going to find at this thickness was going to be a 2x12. But a 2x12 is only 11.25 inches. I needed to add another 1.5 inches. So I joined the two pieces together, glued them up, and let them dry overnight. The next day, I cut my board to the size I needed and used my router with a roundover bit to soften the edges a little so the edges wouldn't be as sharp. I sanded the edges with a sanding pad and then sanded the whole thing with 180 grit sandpaper.
I cleaned off as much of the dust as I could in preparation for applying a paint wash. I love the look of a good paint wash. This is the color Algonquin by Fusion Mineral Paint, and it's a really nice tan looking paint color. You can either use it as a paint wash alone or use it as a base before staining, depending on the look you're going for. So when staining, I prefer paint wash over preconditioner because it's easy, it's not oily or messy like a preconditioner, and it does a really good job at covering up imperfections on wood. And let's be real, this is pine. It's not anything fancy. It's construction lumber, so it's not perfect. The paint wash will hide imperfections, but still show the grain pattern. I didn't record the staining part, but here's the result. I did 2 coats of Minwax Special Walnut and then sealed it with polyacrylic in a satin finish. It looks so good. Really love how this combination turned out. Now, in order to secure the mantle to the fireplace frame, I used these corner brackets. Really easy to install, and they're pretty heavy duty. And of course, I drilled pilot holes in the mantle because I was not going to risk cracking it. The hardest part was trying to get under the mantle to screw everything in from the bottom. It took me a while, but it was definitely worth it. And now for the grand finale, installing the fireplace insert into the opening. This was actually also pretty easy. You plug in the fireplace first, screw the insert to the studs, add the crystal rocks, and add the glass cover as the final step. And that's it. How cool is this? This is a really nice fireplace insert. You can adjust the heat level, the intensity of the flames, you can change the colors, and even turn off the heat and use it just for looks. Super impressed with the quality and how easy it was to install and set up. It has a timer and it can all be adjusted from the remote control. It's super cool. And that's how I built this super cool fireplace for my friend. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. Everything I use is linked in the description, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'm always happy to help. Till next time, happy DIYing!